So now we're going to be doing the collar. So I'm going to tell you the pieces that you need to do the collar. You need the collar top, basically this part. This is the collar inner, the collar stand. You need 2 of those. They will have notches, so you will know where to put it. And then you have those collar inner piece. This is for your stain. So here, you're normally not going to do much. They're already pretty much pressed, but normally you're gonna press and make everybody be flat. The only one that you need to press nicely is going to be this one. Depending of which one is the fashion fabric or the correct side, you're gonna press accordingly. Let's pretend that this is the right side of the fashion fabric. So you're gonna flip it over and work in the back. From here to here is 1 centimeter, meaning 1 centimeter that you have to press. You're going to use one of this card. You're gonna put in here, around here. And you're gonna make sure that hit 1 centimeter here in this piece. And then slow down, it will go to 0. Because you can see the shape, it pushed to 0 here and 1 here. So you're gonna try to get it as nice as you can. Gonna use the iron and press it. One you have in this way, you're gonna flip it over and press it good again. Some steams if you need it. And repeat the process in the other side. Okay, so now we are here. This is very important. So you might need a ruler, a clear ruler, and a pencil. Because we're going to set up the area where it's going to be the stand. So the way you do that, you're gonna do it in the lower collar or the inner collar. You're gonna come through both sides on the side, and you're gonna mark 2 inches. So one side, I use the center of the ruler, 2 inches, and mark. Then when you have this, your guide here is going to be this corner, this pointing corner here. That's gonna be your guide. And then you're gonna use a clear ruler and you're gonna mark 1/4 each side. So let's first mark the center. I use dash line because I'm not going to sew in there. It's just for a guide for you guys. And then take the ruler, put this, which you can see here is 1/4, and gonna to line up with this corner here. So I know here I have 1/4. And I'm going to mark harder. We're gonna do this side and mark the other corner. The stand is supposed to be 1/2 each. The stand can change, can be 1/2 each, 3/8, 5/8. But in our shirt is 1/2 each. So if we have a different number, you guys will know it will be on the tech pack itself. So that way you know, hey, it's whatever number it is. Then we're gonna do the same thing again. Line up here, 1/4, and line up here, 1/4, and mark. Making sure, you just put in here, you can see it's 1/2 each. Once you have that done, you're gonna take one of this. This area is the one that's going to be here. So you're gonna put it here. This notch here, you need to line up with this edge here. You can take one pin, put it in the center, so that way it will be nicely whole, and then you're gonna sew. You're gonna sew from here to here to here, and then from here to here to here. Now we're gonna sew it. You can use the same foot 132. You're gonna put it this way. The foot, it will be here, and the other foot, that one doesn't move, it's gonna be here. And then start, same way. You're gonna pivot. That's one side. We're gonna do the other side. This one a little bit of wrinkle here. I'm gonna try to organize that. Just doing this way. This normally is gonna be the opposite way. So let's try to make it. Let's do it from the top, so that way we continue the same way we were doing. Try to make it flatter. It will be ended up like this. When you go in iron, it will flat and it will looking nice. These two pieces here is going to be the one that's going to be interfacing. We're going to interface the top collar, and we're going to interface in one of the collar stand. The way that it will be ended up is, because normally the collar is this way, the pointing, the largest one is going to be out, but in this kind of collar is the opposite. It's going to be this, the shorter is the one that's going to be out. So these two pieces going to be interfacing. Once they are interfacing, you're going to take this piece, interface, you're going to meet with the low or the inner collar, the one that have the stand. You're gonna do right sides together, meaning this side is supposed to have interfacing and this side is supposed to be the fashion fabric. And after you get that done, you're gonna sew in all these pieces, basically here to here to here to here. You're gonna sew in all that to a quarter. This portion here need to be open. You are not going to sew in this. So now we do have the pieces been interfacing. So this piece is the collar, the top collar, and this is the collar itself, and it's already interfacing. So we are not going to work with this right now. We're going to put it on the side, but we're going to work with this piece, which is the inner collar and the top collar. So we're going to do, we're going to, like I say, face the fashion fabric together, and you will be ended up with something like this. Now, if this is flapping around too much, what you can do really quick is line it like this and do a small stitch here, basically under 1/8. just a hair, because in that way it won't be flapping around and bother you and getting caught in things. You do it in this side, just one stitch, nothing more. That's it. And then you will see that now it stay there without any problem. Now we're gonna put these together. We're gonna sew in these two together. The seam allowance for these is 1/4. So my foot here, this foot is basically around 1/4. So I'm gonna use this as my guide. Normally you're gonna put the most unstable, the most stretchy fabric, the most complicated fabric toward to the dog feet, and the most stable on the top. So that's what we're going to do. You're gonna sew, you're gonna start here, go here, and finish here. You are not going to sew this part at this point. So we're gonna put them together, put in here, make sure. In the machine, you will see that the number 1 here is 1/4. So you put in that right there, make sure that the edges meet and stitch straight. Pivot here, make sure it's around 1/4. Here you're gonna sew into a depth, basically a curve. So go slow if you need to. Make sure that you meet the edges here. And then you do have a notch here. You wanna hold it too, so that way you make sure that you're sewing this to the correct distance. You're gonna grab this until you see the edge and move it like this. So you know you have once 1/4 seam allowance, and start sewing. Continue doing that. Make sure until the notch. When you get a notch, you pause there, rearrange again everything. Make sure that these two edges meet here. Everything is nice here. Hold it and sew it again. Make sure if you have the bottom part coming out, you hold this like this and use your finger and pull like this. That way you make even both, you see? Even both, and take down and sew these to 1/4 all the way to the here. Here you're gonna do this. Now this is more than what I need, so I'm gonna do 1 stitch more. You can use the wheel if you need it. Now it's perfect. Now I'm gonna make sure edges are met. You have a notch here, you can make the notch here, and then sew these to 1/4. So this is the way it should be looking in the end. It's 1/4 all the way around. You're gonna use small scissors that you have, and you're gonna trim this here. So the important about trim here is that you reduce the bulk of fabric around this area, because this is a pointing area. So some people do this. I don't recommend that, because you're still gonna have fabric here. So you're gonna reduce on the side 1/8 basically, or half, or whatever the seam allowance that you do have in the area. And then you do the same thing to this side. Now we're going to be pressing. Now we're here, we're going to put inside out, and we're going to prepare the corners and pressing. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to use your finger like this. Do this. can use your finger and do this rolling. Then you're gonna have a pointing corner. It can be wood, it can be plastic, and then push that corner up there until getting that way. We're gonna repeat the same thing here. Gonna do this. Making sure they're sharp. Now, sometimes you can either use this to get the edges under here and push it out, or you can do this, open it up like this with your fingers and iron. This will help you to get the color super crisp. Once you have that done, you look like this. You're gonna make sure that you use your finger and do this. So the goal is that you have this. You don't have a difference in size between the upper and the undercolor. It's the same size. So the way you find that you're being accurate is how you're sewing and have to meet this way. So this is supposed to be all the way around. So we're gonna do this all the way around to make sure that is that way. And then you're gonna be iron this nicely, making sure that it's meeting the edges in the right. You can steam a little bit if you need it to make it look crisp. No puckering, no nothing. Now, one way you find out that you're being accurate is this, the notches. If the notches in both sides meeting here, you know that you're sewing this in the correct seam allowance and correct side. It's important that you do that. So once you have this piece here, you bring it back to the machine. Now that we are here, we're gonna sew in this together. We're gonna trim this small area here to get it clean. And you see, making sure that everything looks nice, that everything is the way it's supposed to. We're still using the 132 foot, and that's the one we're gonna be using for this. We're gonna make sure that everything is correctly, that is meeting correctly, that there's not one going over or anything, that is right there. We're gonna top stitch in this. We're gonna use this foot. Basically in the edge that we're going to stitch. So we wanna make this piece of the foot as our guidance, basically, and the stitch needs to be right there. Still too big. We can make one stitch more and see. If it's not, we can do half stitch and then go. Try to pull and tuck in here so both edges meeting and notches meeting. Now, this is the way supposed to be in the end. Stop stitch, super nice, super soft. Now, one is this way, you're gonna close the bottom. You're gonna close the bottom because if you let this open and you sew in different pieces, this opening, might bother you when you're sewing. So you're gonna close this, and you're gonna close this the same way, just doing the edges. You cannot go more than a 1/8. 1/8 is a maximum that you can go, because this is going to be sewing to the collar under a 1/8 because when you sew in that directly in the body, it's gonna be a 1/4. So this stitch here need to be hidden. That's the reason you're gonna make it shorter than a 1/4, because it's gonna be hidden so nobody can see it. You do this to make it easy for you to sewing, but when you sew in this to the neck, the whole collar to the body itself is a 1/4. So this is the end. This is how the collar is supposed to be look like, and we're ready for the next step.